All right, Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Your brother Obadiah with New Wine Congregation. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shemi Yahweh. Yahweh is the true name who the world calls God, and Yahweh Shai is the true name who the world calls Jesus Christ. And the title of this video is 3 verses proving the Gentiles in the New Testament are Israelites. Now, this is a topic that a lot of Christians, you have a lot of Christians come up wondering, or some of them say, what about the Gentiles? Paul came for the Gentiles, and they think that those Gentiles are non-Israelites. But Lord willing, through this video I'm gonna have 3 scriptures. I might pull more. I don't know. I want to get some scriptures out of Romans 11 because I know a lot of people, get confused with Romans 11. But I might just make that a separate video going into Romans 11, man. So yeah, I'm gonna get some scriptures proving that the Israelites, that the Gentiles that Paul is speaking to are not non-Israelites. These are indeed Israelites in the Gentile state of mind. But before I do that, you know what I got to do? Got to play the brother blowing the mighty shofar before we get this class started. My screen. It say your browser have blocked your screen. That ain't nothing but Satan. How I block my screen, bro? Makes sense. Right, there you go. I don't know what's going on. But all right, let's get the brother playing the shofar first before we kick this thing off. Yasharala. Mm-hmm. Hey man, hey, the heathens don't like to hear that sound, but they think it's a rapture outside. They don't like to hear that. They don't know what's going on, babe. The whole world gonna hear a loud trumpet blow real soon. That's gonna be louder than that. Real soon. Right? So yeah, man, I just want to touch on this topic, man, because a lot of people get confused of going into the Gentiles in the New Testament. You have people say, well, Christ came for the Jews and Paul came for the Gentiles. Well, that's not necessarily wrong. We know Christ came for the Jews. We know that he said he wasn't sent. Oh, let me get this scripture. He told his disciples, and I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible, man. I'm gonna try to make this class as simple as possible to the people that's really trying to learn and willing to learn. So when you go to Google, right, you can go to Matthew. I forgot what I had to go to. Matthew 10. Start at verse 5. It say, these 12 Yahweh Shah sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans, enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go preaching, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So he basically commanded his disciples. He basically commanded them. He basically commanded them to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But you have people be like, well, he sent them to go to the Jews, right? But people got to understand something. When you speak of the Jews, not all Jews are the Israelites. Let me try to make that make more sense. Let me see how I can say this. The Jews make up three tribes: Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which were the southern kingdom. If anybody know about the split of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? Southern kingdom, which were the Jews, will make up Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, because chiefly, Judah, because Jew is short for Judah, right? So that would be the southern kingdom, right? And it like Israel in some context in the Bible, Israel would just be the northern kingdom, right? So when you get into it, not all the Israelites are Jews, because the Jews only make up three tribes. So not all the Israelites are Jews, but Jews are Israelites. That makes sense what I'm trying to say. The Jews are Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. Because yes, the Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they are Israelites, right? But Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, Naphtali, all them, they wouldn't be the Jews though. They wouldn't be the Jews. But a lot of people think when they read the New Testament and Paul letters, when it's talking about the Jews, they put the Jews with all the tribes. And then when they say Gentiles, they put that with the heathens, non-Israelites. You can't do that. You can't do that because not all the Israelites were Jews. So when you go to now, let me get some. I'm gonna get this scripture right here, and you have to read. It's very simple when you read, because understand this. Paul is writing an epistle. He's literally writing a letter to a group of people. So let's go with Romans, because a lot of people love Romans, and Romans is a mighty book, man. But people don't understand who he's talking to. People think that he's talking to the literal Romans, the literal bloodline Romans. But Paul is not speaking to the bloodline Romans, right? The Edomites. He's speaking to the Israelites that are in Rome. Let me show you something. Let me show you something real quick. Now, I gotta go to Google again. I'm on the Bible app right here. I gotta get used to this. When you go to let's go to the book of Romans real quick. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1, because you have to read, it's a letter, right? When you read a letter, you start from the beginning. If anybody writes you a letter, you're not finna start at verse 16 or read in the middle of the letter. No, you're gonna start reading in the beginning. So Paul tell you who he's writing to. A majority of his letters, he either writing to his brethren or he's writing to the saints. So when you go to Romans chapter 1 and verse 7, or did he mention it? If it's not in the beginning of the epistle, he's gonna say brethren or saints somewhere in that guy, either one of them, or maybe both sometimes. But he tell you who he writing to in the beginning of Romans chapter 1 and verse 7. To all that be in Rome. So he's writing to all that be in Rome. Now, some people may stop right there and be like, see, he's writing to everybody that's in Rome, that's trying to serve God and want to believe. Beloved of God, called to be saints. That's the key thing. That's the key words. Called to be saints. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Yahweh Shah. So now you got to figure out who the saints is, because but the church would tell you, or your pastor may tell you, that the saints are anybody that believe. But the Bible don't say that. If we going off the definition of what the Bible say, the Bible do not say that the saints are just anybody that believe. That it tells you that the saints are the Israelites. Let me show you. Let me get this verse real quick. The saints are the Israelites. Just like this. No, everybody can't be a saint, just like everybody can't be an Israelite. Right? Everybody can't just anybody can't just say, I want to be an Israelite, so I'm an Israelite. No, you got to be born an Israelite. So you got to be born a saint. A saint is not something a title that's just given to you because you believe. No, it's a bloodline. Anybody of any nationality cannot be a saint according to the Bible. The saints are always mentioned as the Israelites. So we go to Psalm chapter 149 and verse 1. Praise ye the Lord. Sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise in the congregation of the saints. So his praise is in the congregation of the saints, right? Verse 2. Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their king. So the saints. What is this? What is this? You gotta get the context. This is talking about Israel. Verse 1 is going with verse 2. Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praises to him with a timbrel and harp. So this is talking about Israel. The saints are the Israelites. Let's get another verse to prove that in the Psalms. Psalms 50. Psalm 50 and 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So the question would be, who the only people that made a covenant with God by sacrifice? I mean, it's no question who the only people he was dealing with when it came to sacrifice. What one nation was he dealing with that was sacrificing to him as a nation of people? It's Israelites, man. These are the saints. These are the saints. So when you go back to Romans, because this is huge, because once you figure out who these people he writing to, when you read Romans 9 and 3 through 4, when it's going into the promises and the blessings, that's talking about the Israelites. When you go into Romans 11, which I'm gonna do a breakdown on soon, Lord willing, when you go into Romans 11, going to the olive tree and the grafted in, this is speaking to the Israelites. This is speaking to the Israelites, man, because he's writing to the Israelites, but they're called Gentiles. Why are they called Gentiles? Because they living like the heathens. They getting called Gentiles because they living like Gentiles. They living like the Romans, right? They was living like the Greeks. That's why Paul said there's no difference between Jew and Greek, because you had our people living like the Greeks. That's why you need the Apocrypha. This is why you need to read First and Second Maccabees. And you don't say, well, no, we don't need the Apocrypha. It's not canon. When Christ himself kept feast of dedication. John 10 and 22. Christ kept feast of dedication, which also known as Hanukkah. You find that in First Maccabees in the Apocrypha, celebrating the downfall of the Greeks. So once you understand that, you will see that's why he said Jew and Greek. Why he didn't say there's no difference between Jew or no other nation. He just said the Greeks, because you had our people get into the Greek custom like they do now. They call themselves Q dogs, right? They in these fraternities and sororities. They calling themselves Greeks. They living as the Greeks. They living as the Greeks. So it's no new thing under the sun. So when you go to Romans 1 and 7, to all that being Rome, beloved of God, Pepper, what you doing there? You ain't slick. I heard you in there. Yeah, go to the kennel. Trying to be slick. That ain't sweet. So when you go to Romans 1 and 7, to all that being Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints. So anything after this or the whole epistle of Romans, he's speaking to Israelites. He's speaking to the Israelites. And I'm gonna further prove what I'm saying in another book. I mean, the same book, but a different chapter. Romans chapter 9. I'm a further prove that these Israelites, that these Gentiles that Paul was writing to in his epistles are Israelites that scattered. James 1 and 1, right? James was doing the same thing to the 12 tribes, scattered abroad. Hell, a lot of our people scattered abroad, and they was keeping the customs as the other nation. It's nothing new now. This is why we're doing the same thing Paul doing. We're going out teaching to the Gentiles of our people that's in the Gentile mind, that's celebrating Christmas, that's celebrating Thanksgiving, that's calling themselves a Muslim, right? That's calling themselves Christians and Christianity, that's saying they worship the universe, they don't believe in God. They are taking in the customs of the heathens. They are living like Americans. But they not Americans, they Israelites, but they adopted the customs of these Americans that's not of God. So we going out there to them and telling them, hey, you an Israelite. You need to repent. The promises that's in Romans 9 is for you. It's no difference than what Paul was doing. Let's go to Romans chapter 9 and verse 25. I mean, you can't deny this, man. I want to get in there. I might get into a little bit of Romans 11. I ain't gonna break the whole thing down, but I might get some scriptures out of there, man, because it'll go with what we're talking about. I want to get some scriptures out of there to go with it. But this Romans chapter 9 and verse 25. Right, let me get 24. And it's proved, this further proof that these Gentiles are Israelites. 24. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only. Now that's when people be like, well, he said not the Jews only. Then they'll put all the 12 tribes together under the Jews. Then they'll be like, but also the Gentiles. Then they'd be like, well, this got to be talking about the non-Israelites because the Jews are the Israelites, and it said not them only. No, the Jews are the southern kingdom. The Jews don't make up all the 12 tribes. It says, but also of the Gentiles. Let me prove what I'm saying. As he said also in OC. Now, who is OC? You got to do a little bit of scholarship. It don't take a lot. Just look up OC. Or who is OC? He is known as one of the minor prophets and is credited with writing the book of Hosea. Hosea was OC when you read about it. Or I skipped over right here. Yeah, it's Hosea, right? Hosea is OC. So when you go back to Romans 9 and 25, as he said also in Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not my beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. So you will have people read this, especially verse 25. They'll read 25 and 26 and be like, see, he said he gonna call the people his people that was never called his people. And they'll be like, well, the heathens was never called his people. Israel was. So this must be talking about the heathens, the other nations. They are the Gentiles as Paul writing to. But you will have to, it said it's written in OC, right? Hosea. You will have to go into the book of Hosea and show that Hosea talked about the non-Israelites being called his people. You have to go in Hosea because the Bible said it's in Hosea that he said this right here. I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not my beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. They will have to show. Even right here, Isaiah, which is Isaiah, also cried concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. The question would be that most Christians don't ask is why is Paul always bringing up Israel? Like, why? I'm gonna get another account. He always bringing up prophecy that the prophet spoke about of Israel, of the Israelites. But if he was speaking to non-Israelites, why would he always keep bringing up what the prophets spoke about and what happened in the past regarding our forefathers and the promises that our forefathers and foremothers will pertain? Like, why would he say in Romans 9 and 3, let me show I'm gonna come back to this real quick. I ain't forget about that. I got something for that. But let me go to Romans 9 and 3 real quick. Why would Paul say this? For I could wish that myself were cursed for Christ, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption and the glories and the covenants and the giving of the law in the service of God and the promises. Like, why would he even bring this up if he's speaking to non-Israelites? Even when you get Romans 11, and verse 25, why would he even say this if he's not speaking to Israelites? Wait, was that what I type? Romans 11, was it 11 and 25? Nah. But notice he keeps saying brethren. Romans 9 and 3 through 4 told you who his brethren was that he writing to. His brethren are the Israelites. And remember him saying, remember that he said that he told them to be not ignorant. I'm gonna pull a verse. He gonna say the same thing in the book of First Corinthians. First Corinthians. He gonna say the same thing. Don't be ignorant, because he's speaking to our people, and he's speaking to the Gentiles of our people and the Gentiles that are mine. But why would he say this? Why would he say, and so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written? Like, why would he even say there shall come out of Zion the deliverer and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob? Why would he even bring up this if he's not speaking to the Israelites, or not speaking to Israel? Why would he bring this up? Why would he say all Israel shall be saved if he not speaking to them? But let's go back to Romans. Let's go back to Romans chapter 9. So let's get it again. Romans chapter 9 and verse 25. As he said in OC, I will call them my people which were not my people, and her beloved which was not my beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. So I'm gonna say it again for anybody that's saying, well, this is talking about the non-Israelites, which are the heathens. You have to show in the book of Hosea that it's talking about non-Israelites. But I can show you in the book of Hosea, which Paul is quoting from, that he's speaking about the Israelites in verse 25 and 26. Let me show you that he's speaking about Israel. This Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be at the sand of the sea. When you go back, didn't Paul say, hold up. Didn't Paul say in Romans chapter 9, was I 9 or 11? Didn't Isaiah say that as well too? Though the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, and the remnant shall be saved. So when you go back, it was also said in Hosea. It was said in Hosea too. A lot of these prophets said the same thing sometimes. Right? When you go to Hosea, man. Hosea 1 and 10. Yeah, the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So this is where Paul got this from. And it says, then shall the children of Judah, southern kingdom, and the children of Israel, northern kingdom, be gathered together and appoint themselves one head. Remember, even when you're going back to the Romans 11, the olive tree, when the branches broke off, the whole Romans 11 is just talking about Israel, right, which is the northern kingdom, coming back into the fold, and in Israel and Judah becoming one nation again, like it was before the split in First Kings. That's all it's talking about. It's not talking about no heathens. No, dang, it's so much, man. It's so much. It says, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together. So this is what it's talking about in Romans 9 and 25 and 25 and 26. Israel and Judah coming together. So it was a time where Israel, chiefly Ephraim, they wasn't even called the Lord's people no more, because they were so deep into idolatry. The Lord was like, man, just leave them alone. Stop dealing with them. Treat them like a bastard. Hosea 4:17. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. So the Bible said Ephraim is joined to idols. Leave him alone. Stop dealing with them. So when it makes sense, right? When you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, it makes more sense when you go to 1 Corinthians 12:2. Ye know that you were Gentiles carried away into dumb idols, even as ye were led. The heathens were always, and notice verse 1 again, not concerning spiritual gifts, brethren. I would not have you ignorant. Remember that. Remember that I would not have you ignorant in that, brethren. Tell you who he's speaking to, man. I'm gonna put a scripture that show you. He gonna say, "Be not ignorant." It's talking about Israel, but Israel, always, when you get into the Bible, Israel was always called into idols. The heathens, they never got carried away into idols. That was part of their nature. The heathens was never living righteous, and then all of a sudden they got carried away into dumb idols. No, they were always into idols from the beginning. Israel was the people that always got caught up into idolatry, and they had to go through captivities. They was carried away into these dumb idols, man. Just read the book of Hosea. Northern Kingdom was deep into idolatry, man. It was deep into it. So that Romans 9:25 through 26, that's why he said ye. That's why he said ye were Gentiles. A ethnic bloodline Gentile, a non-Israelite, will always be a Gentile. There will always be heathens. They're gonna always be that. This is talking about Israelites. It say you were Gentiles. What made them Gentiles and get called Gentiles? Because they was carried away into the dumb idols. So the Lord looked at them as Gentiles. Certain Israelites looked at them as Gentiles. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something. Because you had a lot of our people. This is this verse right here, just a side note. Because people like to say that the Samaritan woman was a heathen at the well. But when you go to, I was gonna make a separate video on this to get more into it. I might still do it. Verse 12. Verse 12 shows you that this Samaritan woman was an Israelite, but she was in Samaria. She was called a Samaritan, right? But she was an Israelite because it says, aren't thou greater than our father Jacob? This is John 4:12. Aren't thou greater than our father Jacob? So she said her forefather is Jacob. Now, in order for your forefather to be Jacob, you must be an Israelite, because Jacob was the father that started the 12 tribes of Israel. So although she was called a Samaritan and she was living in Samaria, she was an Israelite. Why? Because let me get this. I forgot what the scripture. Let me look it up. Yeah, Isaiah 79. Because people got to understand, man. You had a lot of our people over there, man. A lot of Northern Kingdom was over there. It's over there in Samaria. Why is that? Let me show you. Isaiah 79. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If ye would not believe, surely ye shall not be established. So it say the head of Ephraim is Samaria. So 9 times out of 10, that woman in John chapter 4, we know she was an Israelite, but she more than likely probably was from a Northern Kingdom tribe, probably from Ephraim. It don't say, but I'm just speaking as a man. She probably could have been from Ephraim, but she was an Israelite because it says, "Aren't you greater than our forefather Jacob?" So the plan already was for the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom to come together, and be a people again. Already to be a people again. Even now, I gotta get it. Even when, because Romans 11, people talk about the branches and things like that. Paul got that from the Old Testament. That's not a new concept when Paul was speaking about the branches and the things broken off. I gotta go to it real quick, and I get the last scripture. I'm gonna go into tonight to prove that we the Israelites. Paul got that from the Old Testament. It was already prophesied in the Old Testament that that the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom were going to come back together. Judah and Ephraim, northern southern kingdom, were going to come back together and be one nation again. It wasn't going to be no more split. It was already prophesied. But a lot of people don't know that because they really don't read the Old Testament. And so when they hop to the New Testament, they see Paul speaking about the Gentiles and the grafting in. They think that's talking about the heathens, but they don't even know the history about what happened before this. Even when you go to Romans chapter 11 and verse, even when you go to, was it? Even when you go to Romans 11 and 23, and they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. The heathens was never what you would call grafted in with Israel ever in history. It said they're going to be grafted in again. So this people that is talking about must have been in the fold already. This is speaking about Israelites, man. Call on Yahweh by Shemi Awashai. This is speaking about Israelites. So when you go into the branches, right? Where's the way it started with the branches? Where it start? I start at 16. And I'll do a lesson, Lord willing, on Romans 11, the whole thing soon. It says, for if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. Notice Paul is speaking about branches in an olive tree. He getting this from somewhere, and I'm going to show you. It said, if some of the branches be broken off, and though being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partaketh of the root or the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou would say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off. It was in the idols. They were broken off. They didn't believe. They wanted to serve other gods, meaning they didn't believe in the one true God, right? We read that in Hosea and 1 Corinthians 12 and 2. And thou steadfast by faith, be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell severally, but towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shall be cut off. Remember what Paul's saying right here. Remember everything he's saying right here. I'm going to show you what he's talking about. And they also thereby not still in unbelief shall be grafted in, but God is able to graft them in again. In verse 26 tell you, without even me going to the Old Testament, verse 26 even tell you what we talking about. It's crazy. People just, I don't know, man. It says, for if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and did I read this already? Were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these which be the natural branches be grafted in their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conscience, that blindness in part is happened to Israel. This whole thing is speaking about the blindness and the split of the kingdom until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in, right? Because they got to come back. They got to come back into the fold. It's prophesied, because it was prophesied. They must come back, right? Northern kingdom must come back into the fold, and Israel and Judah become one nation again. No more split, no more evil eye. Become one people again. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written. This whole Romans 11 is speaking about Israel and Judah coming together. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. It's speaking about when they come together, right? The ungodliness was going to be turned away from Jacob, right? For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. So, oh my goodness. How can you say this talking about the heathens? So let me show you in the Old Testament where this was spoken about when it's talking about the branches and broken off. Paul knew the prophecies. Paul knew the prophecies, man. He said he believed all things that was written in the prophets. Let me get that. What that was? What that? Acts 24 and 13. Let me get that first. Because Paul believed all things the prophets said. So that means he studied the prophets to know what they spoke of. So he knew the prophecies that was coming ahead. He knew what his job was. Acts 24 and 14. But this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. He believed in the law. He believed in what the prophets spoke about. He knew that Israel and Judah, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, were going to come back. He knew this, that a lot of our people was going to get caught in idolatry and living like the heathens, and that they was going to have to be brought back to the fold. He knew that. That's why he was writing to them. He wasn't writing to the actual Greeks or actual Gentiles. No, he's writing to Israelites that's in a Gentile state of mind, that drifted away from their God. He's telling them to come back to their God. So let's go to Isaiah 8. Because Isaiah 8 speak about the similar things that Paul was speaking about. That's not no coincidence at all. Isaiah 8 and 14. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling. Stumbling. Don't it say something about stumbling when you go back to Romans 11 again? About let me get it. All right, bro. When you go to Romans, we're gonna go precept upon precept, right? Verse 11, Romans 11:11. I say then, have they stumbled that they shall fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. It say, have they stumbled that they shall fall? God forbid. So it was speaking about a stumbling. Matter of fact, and David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. So the time where our people was slumbering, right? Stumbling, my bad, stumbling. The Bible said you're not gonna fall completely. I'm not gonna let you fall completely. It said he shall be a sanctuary. That's why when you read Romans 11 and 1, that God cast. Bro, this is what I'm saying, bro. Like how do people get this? Is talking about the heathens. I say then, has Romans 11 and 1. I say then, has God cast away his people? God forbid. So he didn't cast away, although they stumbled. He wasn't going to allow them to fall completely, because the prophecy was they were going to come together. But I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So when you go back to Isaiah 8, Romans 11 said he didn't cast away his people. For anybody that say Israel is not here no more, the church is taking place of Israel don't matter no more. He didn't cast away his people. It started off in Romans 11 and 1. He told you that. But it say verse Verse 14. And it shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the house of Israel, both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare for the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken. Broken. What Paul was speaking about in Romans 11. Many shall fall and stumble and be broken and be snared and be taken. Verse 17. And I will wait upon the Lord that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for the signs and for the wonders in Israel, from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Zion, in Mount Zion. Right? So that broken off in the branches, that came from the prophets that was speaking about it before Paul even spoke about it. When you go to Jeremiah, all right, you want to make sure we're still going. When you go to Jeremiah, when you go to Jeremiah 11, verse 16. The Lord, is Jeremiah 11 and 16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree. Fair and of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult. He hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches, what he said, the branches of it are broken. Hold up. Did Paul not say that in Romans 11? Did Paul not say the branches were broken off in Romans 11? Hold up. And the Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult. He hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee has pronounced evil against thee for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah. Southern kingdom, Judah, northern kingdom, Israel, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense unto Baal. Right? So the whole point of Paul writing the letters, because he knew the branches were broken off, but they gonna come back together though. They're gonna come back together, and they're gonna be that one tree again. They're gonna be the one people again. This is what he was talking about. Right, so let me get my next all praise to the Most High, man. See what I'm saying? Paul was going into hold on, I'm looking at something. Right. So now let me get First Corinthians. So yeah, Paul got that from the prophets, the olive tree and broken off and being grafted in. They was already prophesying that to happen. It was already prophesying that to happen because the kingdom had already split. So you get First Corinthians 10. This the kick. When I first read this, I'm like, oh yeah, this talking about Israel. No questions asked. First Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers, so the people that he's talking to, let me keep going, were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. So the people that he's talking to in this epistle, their forefathers were under both him and the people he writing to, their forefathers under a cloud and all passed through the sea. and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and the sea, and they all eat the same spiritual meat. So what he's referring to is in Exodus. He's referring to Exodus when the Israelites were under a cloud, which further proves that these people, these Gentiles in these letters are Israelites. Because he's telling, if these were heathen, why would he bring up something that happened in Exodus about the Israelites? Why would he say our fathers? Remember, that's the same thing the Samaritan said in John 4. All our fathers. And she was an Israelite. Paul an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So that means that she an Israelite too. So when you go to Exodus chapter 13, in verse 21, and the Lord went before them by a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. And he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. This is speaking about Israel. Verse 18, but God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. So this whole thing was talking about the Israelites. So when you go back to Romans, 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1, when he said all our fathers passed through the cloud, he's letting them know, right? Or he letting you know, the people that's reading, that these are Israelites. He's speaking to the Israelites, man. These are Israelites. No questions asked. These are indeed Israelites. Even when you go to Ephesians, it's the last thing. It's probably gonna be the last. I don't know if this is gonna be the I think it's Ephesians. This might be the last verse I get. Ephesians 2 and 11. Wherefore remember that being in time past Gentiles, that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, because remember the Lord said, leave them alone. The Lord said, leave them alone. They carried away into dumb idols. Leave them alone. They wasn't with Christ. They wasn't keeping the laws no more. They wasn't getting circumcised no more according to the law on the 8th day. They wasn't doing that. The same way our people in America not doing the same things no more. They drifting away from the laws and the commandments of God. So they were called Gentiles, but you had some that was coming back to the fold. That's why he said, remember that ye being in time past, meaning you were Gentiles, but not anymore. So this is speaking about Israelites, man. Right? So all Paul letters, and Lord willing, it was I made this as simple as possible, man. I might do a part 2 because there's plenty more scriptures to go into. But there's just a little bit of scriptures I had to show that Paul was speaking to Israelites in his epistles that were in a Gentile state of mind, man. Right, so with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and I say Shalom and Kwam Yasharallah.